Good morning and welcome. I am Anna Wesley, a member of the board at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Reston. Whether you are on Zoom or here in the church sanctuary, we are so glad you are here with us this morning. No matter how old or how young you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, however you identify, and whomever you love, know you are welcome here. We are absolutely delighted to welcome our ministerial candidate, Reverend Aileen Fitzke, to UUCR this morning. Reverend Aileen is leading today's service and will also lead the worship service next Sunday, April 30th. Candidating week began last night with a potluck dinner in the sanctuary and will run through next Sunday, culminating in the special congregational meeting after the service next Sunday. Please pick up one of the yellow sheets in the foyer with the full candidating week schedule. There are many opportunities to get to know Reverend Aileen this week, and we encourage you to attend at least one event or more if possible. Announcements. Same thing. We hope you will join us today after worship for informal discussion with Reverend Aileen Fitzke. This event will run from 11:45 to 12:30 p.m. in the sanctuary, and all are welcome. UCR will vote on adopting the 8th principle at the... Really, guys? UUCR will vote on adopting the 8th principle at the annual fiscal meeting on May 21st. You are invited to join us in Love and Community for listening circles where we can share our thoughts, concerns, and input. There are currently 4 listening circles scheduled in May, including one on Zoom. Please look for this information in the Connection email newsletter. I now invite Kathy Deligianis to share an announcement from the membership committee.
She didn't know me speaking, but I know I'm going to tell you guys.
Probably should have mentioned when I was asking how to say your name.
So membership committee is hosting a newcomer orientation on Saturday, May 6th from 9:30 to 11:30 here in the sanctuary. So if you're new or new-ish and you'd like to learn more about our faith and also how to get more connected, see me after the service and let me know if you're coming or not. Thank you.
I just want to say that Kathy's my hero. She makes the coffee every week, even though it's not her job. All right. Okay, very important. Please plan to join us for the special congregational meeting after the service next Sunday, April 30th. At this meeting, church members will vote on whether to call Reverend Aileen Fitzke as our next settled minister. A quorum is required. Don't miss this exciting and important meeting. Also, please plan, oh wait, we had this part already. Here's the important part. If you're planning to attend one of the lunch or dinner events, please RSVP on the line or sign-up sheets if you're planning to come for any of the candidate events for Reverend Aileen's, so we know how much food to have. Thank you. All right. Now, let us center ourselves for worship. Please take some deep, quieting breaths with me. Whew. Let us enter in our time of worship together as we listen to this morning's prelude.
by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Aileen Fitzke, and our opening words this morning are by Tim Haley. Amid all the noise in our lives. Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all those in our lives who have brought us warmth and love, to give thanks for the gift of life. We know that we are on a pilgrimage here for just a brief period of time. Let us open ourselves here, now, to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on earth.
Our opening hymn today is number 347, Gather the Spirit. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing. Gather the
Good morning. I'm Sterling Pilette. Welcome to our church. The chalice lighting for this morning is called Let the Chalice Connect Us by Catherine Callahan. As the chalice is lit, let us come together into the sacred space we have created. Let the cares of the day fall away and know that here is a place for quiet reflection, for a pause in our lives, for breathing into our true selves. Let what is said and felt here add richness to the dimensions of our lives and our spiritual practices. We are strong together in community. We share the experience of being human. Let the warmth of this chalice lit during our time together connect us and carry us into the world.
At UUCR, we have a tradition of singing our covenant together every Sunday. Love is the spirit of this church. The words are in your order of service, and they'll also appear on the screen. I invite you to remain seated as we sing our covenant together. If you are visiting us this morning for the first time, we hope you will accept this as our blessing to you.
Good morning. Now is the time for all ages, so if you're feeling young of body or young of spirit, come on forward. We have space on the floor here and maybe a seat or two up front. So welcome, welcome, whether you're here or on Zoom. Our story today is adapted from Finding Our Rhythm by Amelia Batchelder. Do you ever find yourself overwhelmed by the pace of life and all that's happening around you? Maybe school or work just seems to take more and more time. Or you're trying to make it to all the activities for yourself, for your friends, for your family. Shopping for the latest outfit, or home decoration, or game, so that you can be up to date. Or maybe you're trying to keep up with all the social media and entertainment so you know what your friends are talking about. And we'll talk more in religious education and a little later. The rhythm of modern life can feel overwhelming. And today, I invite us all to think about that and embody this pace, or show it by tapping on your leg, your chest, or tapping on with your foot. So let's try that right now. Let's tap out a rhythm. And if you'd like to shout out some of the things that are adding to this pace for you right now, whether you're here in the sanctuary or at home, go ahead and do that. And if you're at home and want to write in chat, that's fine too. So what are some of those things that are keeping this rhythm going? And okay. Anything else? Go ahead, just shout it out.
My foot is hurting.
Ah.
That's why I'm not tapping my foot.
Oh, well, you can find somewhere that's comfortable to tap. Don't hurt yourself doing that. And we'll talk more later. So we'll have plenty of time. And how about tests or carpools? Anything else? What else is happening? Yes, just call it out.
Learning all the gizmos on the new car with safety features.
Oh, learning cars and learning all the things there are to learn in life. And how about projects or finals? Oh, there are so many things, aren't there? Oh, yes, all kinds of tests. SOLs, yes. And just go on and yell out, or just let's keep this speed. We should be speeding up because I'm hearing all kinds of things happening. Wow, yes. Now, let's slow that down some. And yes, the pace of modern life is just sending us into a whirl, into this fast rhythm. But there is an older rhythm that is calling us to rest. Let us think of the warm evenings welcoming us, savoring popsicles and iced tea, toes squishing in the sand, or cuddles with loved ones. I wonder if we can find a moment to rest. And we let go of even the motion and just breathe. Now, hold your hand over your heart, and can we be quiet enough and still enough to feel your heartbeat? Welcome into this time of rest. And may we each find our way back to this rest whenever we feel a need to slow down. We'll now sing anyone in 8th grade or below to religious education. And the words are projected here.
Now is the time in our service when we share our joys and concerns, so that no one has to ever hold them alone. If you are joining us remotely this morning, you may wish to light a real or virtual candle wherever you are this morning to mark what is in your heart. As members of the in-person congregation here at UUCR, place stones in the water here in the sanctuary. If those of you at home would like to share what is on your heart today in the congregational chat on the screen, please write to all attendees. And please remember that what you share will be public. Those at home may then read others' joys and concerns shared in the chat, and then enter in your own time of reflection and prayer, as we all listen to Jesse play our meditation music. Catherine, sorry. Old script. spirit of life and love that so faithfully animates our creation. We are grateful for this community that is with us in both times of joy and sorrow. We hold in our hearts this morning all who are facing any hardship or difficulty, those who are grieving or facing illness or disability in themselves or friends or loved ones. In particular this morning, we hold in our hearts and prayers the many people who were killed as a result of gun violence in the past couple of weeks. Whether shared here this morning or held silently in our hearts, may our joys be multiplied in community, and may all gathered here find comfort in them. So this morning, I'm going to share another meditation prayer with you. So just relax and listen. It's called Imagine by Lynn Ungar. Imagine with me for a moment. Don't worry, I'm not saying it's real. Imagine, if you can, that there has been not a calamity, but a great awakening. Pretend just for a moment that we loved our threatened earth, that we stopped going on cruises, limited our international flights, worked on cherishing the places where we already are. In this pretty fantasy, everyone who possibly can stops commuting, spends the extra time with their kids or pets or garden. We have the revelation that everyone needs health care, sick leave, steady work. It occurs to us that healthcare workers are heroes, also teachers and scientists and artists of all kinds who teach us resilience and joy. Imagine, if you will, that we turn to our neighbors in mutual aid, trading eggs for milk, checking in on those who are elderly or alone. Imagine if each of us felt called to wonder, in this moment, what does the world need from me? What are my gifts? Yes, I know it's just a fantasy. The world could never change so radically overnight. But imagine. So let's take a moment of silence.
As a self-funded church, UUCR relies on the generosity of its members and friends to fund daily operations and to ensure that the church and its resources are here for us and others, now and in the future. Pledges support our worship and music programs, our religious education program, programs for members and friends, community outreach, and connections to Unitarian Universalism. We now invite you to support the work of UU Reston by making your donation to the collection plate if you are here in the sanctuary or at the link on the slide and in the chat box if you are home at Zoom. Thank you for your generosity and support of our beloved spiritual home.
Several years ago, I developed a meditation practice. Every Friday, during the spring, summer, and fall, I would carve out this space that was sacrosanct. I scheduled work, my children's activities, almost every aspect of my life around this precious time. 8 to 11 a.m. on Friday mornings to do laundry. The co-housing community where I lived, we had time slots because we had shared laundry. At 8 to 11 a.m. was my time slot. You'll notice that I said spring, summer, and fall. You see, it was not just doing laundry. The co-housing community where I lived had a solar clothes dryer, or in layman's terms, a large clothesline. The part that I loved was the part where I would hang my clothes out. I would start by sorting all the t-shirts by color in the order of the rainbow before I hung them out, starting with reds, then oranges, then yellows, etc. The black and gray ones followed in that order, and while I was outside, hanging out the clothes, I'd notice things around me. One morning, I saw a spider spinning a web on the end brace of the clothesline. I stopped for a while to watch. Sometimes insects, large or small, would find themselves entangled in the clothes while they dried. I have picked off any number of creatures that I never would have encountered otherwise. This hanging out of clothes was my rebellion against efficiency. I could just put all the clothes in the dryer and have them all finished fairly quickly. But the clothesline was, and sometimes still is, because I still have one, my way of resisting speed. Time is a strange thing. Just a couple of centuries ago, very few people were ruled by or even thought about clock time. Writes the author of Saving Time, Jenny Odell, when in the 16th century, an Italian Jesuit brought a mechanical clock to China, which had a long history of astronomical clocks driven by water, but did not organize life or work around anything more specific than calendar dates. The clocks weren't embraced. Even in the 18th century, a Chinese reference book called Western Clocks, simply oddities, destined for the pleasure of the senses, objects that fulfilled no basic need. The use of clock time to break up the day in countable equal hours and then standardize that time across the globe took quite a long time to embrace. And as it turns out, was an outcome of the Western colonial project and the rise of the Industrial Revolution. Even as clocks came into fairly common use, they were rarely synchronized. The term we so commonly use today, o'clock, literally means of the clock. And it wasn't just any clock, it was the clock in your particular town. And the time from town to town varied greatly. England in the 1850s was the first one to adopt standardized time, what we now refer to as Greenwich Mean Time. They had master clocks and this icky term called slave clocks, so that clocks across the country ran on the same time. Does anyone know why they did this? That's right, railroads. Train schedules. They had to synchronize train schedules. The US was behind in this. It would take another couple of decades before our railroads were not affected by the vagary and whims of local clock times. This imposition of clock time across the Western world was not necessarily comprehensible to cultures across the globe, who became victims of the European colonial project on which European will was imposed. Bound up in this misunderstanding was much more than a system of measuring time. It was an entire way of thinking about what time is. Writes Jenny Odell, this view of abstract labor hours could not have been more alien to task-oriented communities who organize their activities based on different ecological and cultural cues, such as the flowering or fruiting of a certain plant, and where things took however much time they took. These communities for whom work was not profit, but part of social economy, did not make the same distinctions between what was called work time and non-work time. To the colonizers, civilizing meant inculcating in those subjects the perception of time as money. This imposition of the idea of time as money has become deeply ingrained in the culture in which we live. The Industrial Revolution and the rise of efficiency experts and time management gurus, and our disconnection from time as ecological cycles, has created a cult of speed that is exploitative of human workers and the planet, both of whom are expendable in the rush for the maximization of profit. This cult of speed has become built in to the very way we live our lives, and we don't always notice. Information is delivered to us in now fractions of a second as we push ourselves to keep up. Keep up with the convenience and speed of the internet. Keep up with 100 emails, texts, and notifications. We have the ability with the click of a button to respond quickly and to buy whatever we want and have it delivered the next day, sometimes even sooner. How many of us have had the experience of clicking only to regret what we clicked? How many of us, because of convenience of one click, have ordered things we don't need and could just as easily have done without? There are certain repercussions to our cult of speed and efficiency. We see this most vividly and horrifically, time and time again, in our epidemic of mass shootings, when the efficiency of an automatic or semi-automatic weapon can kill 10, 20, even 60 people in a matter of minutes. The efficiency of clear-cutting a rainforest. The efficiency of arbitrary quotas so that young girls in factories across the globe toil over sewing machines until they drop, so we here in the affluent world can have cheap clothing with a single click. And instead of hand-to-hand combat in wars where combatants have to look each other in the eye before killing them, we now have drones, unmanned bomb delivery systems that can kill hundreds. The operators do not even have to be in the same country as their victims. They don't even have to see. Efficiency engineered to its most chilling. Efficiency is overrated. Even in our desire to make the world a better place, we rush because there is so much urgency. There are so many things that have to be done, and that's true. That we act and react, often without any real reflection. There is very little time sometimes to see if we were reacting in a manner that takes in the larger picture and is really making a difference, or that just perpetuates endless actions and reactions. Back in the mid-60s, the wonderful contemplative monk Thomas Merton wrote, "The rush and pressure of modern life are a form, perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence. To allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone in everything, is sometimes to succumb to violence. The frenzy of our activism neutralizes our work for peace. It destroys our own inner capacity for peace." Merton wrote that in the 1960s, and this rush in the intervening years has only gotten faster. Speed is killing us with ever more lethal and ever faster, more efficient weapons, killing us with a culture that demands ever greater material goods and productivity. A voice comes to me and has been coming to me that says, stop. You are running on a treadmill to disaster. You don't have to hurry up to change the world. You have to slow down. You need to imagine something different. The poem I used this morning, Imagine, as you might have guessed, was written during the pandemic, when the world literally stopped. And amidst the death and trauma and disruption, we glimpsed otherwise possibilities. As Unger alludes to in her observation of the many ways we had to change in response to the pandemic. And she writes, imagine if it hadn't been a calamity, but a great awakening. That is the shift in the way things are. We would have time to imagine and implement changes. And in that collective liminal space that was the pandemic, and to a lesser degree still is, we did change things. And then there were those who wanted us to rush back to the way things were, rush back to the frenzy existence where time is money and the exploitation of workers for maximum profit is seen as efficiency at its best. They wanted to rush back so we wouldn't have time to question, so we wouldn't have time to reflect and see how business as usual was literally killing people. I've had this experience over and over again when I talk to people about alternatives to the cult of speed. And they say, what do you want us to go back to the Stone Age? Which strikes me as so lacking in imagination, as though there are not a million alternatives that lie between the Stone Age and our hypermodern society. The great Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel once wrote, just to be is a blessing. Just to live is holy. So I challenge you to take back a little bit of your time. Take time to imagine something different. And I'm pretty sure you can do better than the Stone Age. Make room in your lives for reflection. Stop. Do nothing. And I repeat, we do not need to hurry up to save the world. We need to slow down. We need to slow down, as someone said to me recently, so that you could hear the grass grow and the sound of a seal's heartbeat. Because no matter what they say, time is not money. Time is time. Rest is resistance. Slow down, walk, don't run, listen, observe, breathe, live. Amen, and blessed be.
Our closing hymn today is number 90, From All the Fret and Fever of the Day. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing.
From all the fret and fever of the day, let there be moments when we turn away, and deaf to all confusing outer day, intently listen for the voice within. In quiet
Our benediction this morning is by the Reverend Sam Trumbore. Go forth in simplicity. Find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to the world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of a common good that serves the needs of all people.
We have now come to the time in our service when it is time to extinguish the chalice. However, we always want to remember, we are not extinguishing the light of hope and truth, the warmth of our community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
That was beautiful. Thank you. We invite our congregants attending worship in Zoom to join us for our virtual Greet Your Neighbor coffee hour today to discuss the service theme and enjoy fellowship with other congregants. The link is in the chat box and will be on the forthcoming slide. We hope that you will also use the chat box as a virtual receiving line to leave a message about your appreciation for the worship service. Those here in person are invited to join us for coffee or tea and fellowship. And also there's a lot of nibblies left over from last night. We are going to leave the chairs set up as they were at the beginning of the service, so we ask you not to stack the chairs. And as a reminder, please join us at 11:45 for an informal discussion with Reverend Aileen. And just a reminder also that childcare is available if you need it. And other than that, go forth, enjoy the day. It looks nice out.